Alright guys, today we're going to be replacing an iPhone 6s Plus screen. The first thing you're going to need is a Pentalobe screwdriver, a regular Phillips small screwdriver, an Isesamo tool or some kind of pry tool, a plastic spudger, and some anti-static tweezers. Do not use regular tweezers. I'll leave a link in the description where these tools are. Most of the time, if you get a screen replacement screen, that they will send you a little pack of screwdrivers, and that works just fine. Here is my screen that I ordered. It's a Vivid screen by ZY Factory. This is a pretty neat little screen. I didn't realize it at the time, but the heat shield is already attached with the 6 screws. But you look at the screen replacement no matter what phone you're doing or iPad or whatever, and you see that in the top right corner, that's where your flex cables are going to be. So we want to make sure when we're messing with that top right corner that you're a little bit more careful. You always want to power off the device. Don't want any kind of power going to it. And the first thing you want to do is you want to take your Pentalobe screwdriver and remove the 2 Pentalobe screws that are at the bottom of the iPhone. This is an iPhone 6s Plus. The difference between the iPhone, to tell the difference, is there's an S on the back of the phone. Other than that, the 6s Plus and the 6 Plus look exactly alike. Now you're going to take your Isesamo tool or a thin pry tool. There's a lot of different tools you can use. And you're going to want to pry up. So start on the frame and pull up towards the LCD, because the LCD is already damaged. So you're not going to be doing any damage anyways. And as you can see, the screen is kind of falling apart in that bottom left corner. So you're just going to pry all the way around. Remember, at the top of the phone, be careful. And you're going to open the phone from the bottom to the top. So you shouldn't have to worry about messing around with the top too much. But I pried all the way around. You can tell on this side it was a little difficult to pry because it was coming loose. So you're going to open it from bottom to top, and you're going to hold it pretty much right there at a 90-degree angle. You're not going to go any further. You're not going to put any pressure on those cables. Now you're going to take off the battery cover, and there's 2 screws. Make sure you lay these screws out exactly the way that you put them in. I'll show you in a minute how I kind of lay my screws out. But you're going to lay that to the side for the time being. You're going to get your plastic spudger, and you're going to lift this cable off. This is the battery cable. This is the cable you always want to do first. Now, you can use a fingernail if you need to. I do it a lot, but the spudger tool really does help a lot. There's going to be 5 screws here you're going to want to take out, and you're going to want to lay these exactly how you pulled them out of this little cover, because these screws are not all the same. And when you put them back, you can cause long screw damage. And you don't want that. You don't want to cause any kind of damage at all when you're replacing your phone or somebody else's. We're going to take this cover off. Now you have access to the front camera, the LCD, and the digitizer. And we're going to take these off one by one with a spudger, or you can use your fingernail. Doesn't really matter the order you take them off, to be honest. You can start with that one that I finished on. You can start with that one first. But these other 2, do that bottom one first and then the next one. Now we can take the frame and put it to the side. We really don't need it anymore for the time being. And we can start working on this. There's little pieces of glass everywhere from this phone, so I'm trying to move everything over to the side. So I'm starting at the bottom of the phone. You don't have to start here, but I'm just used to it. So there's 2 screws at the bottom. Once again, you're going to use a small Phillips screwdriver. Lay those to the side exactly how you pulled them out. Once you do that, you're going to want to take off the home button. Mine is like pretty much destroyed, so I could get in there with my finger and pull it off. If you can't do that, you might have to take your tweezers and kind of get underneath the cable. Just be careful you don't put too much pressure and accidentally cut that cable. There's glass on this one. Most of the time there won't be glass, but on this one there was glass, so I'm trying to make sure I get all the glass off so when I lay it back on the new screen, it sits flush. Once you've taken that out, there's going to be 7 screws around the outside of this frame. And I didn't realize that the screen that I ordered, these already came attached, and I didn't even have to do this. But if you do not have the screen that I ordered, you're going to have to do this. So you're going to take, there will be 3 on each side of the frame, and then there will be 1 at the top holding this heat shield on. And you can see it's right there at the top. So there'll be 7 screws total. They're all about the same size, but take them out and lay them like you normally would. Now we're going to get the front camera, speaker, microphone up here. We're going to take the shield off. Same thing, these screws are not the same size, so make sure you lay them out correctly. I'll show you how I laid mine out in just a minute. You're going to go ahead and lift up the camera and then take out the speaker. The little microphone at the top. Once you do that, I took these tweezers and I was able to get under this proximity sensor and kind of pry it to the left a little bit. And just be careful when using these tweezers or anything like it. If they're really sharp, it's better if they're dull, so they can't cut into anything. And now we're going to take this spudger, and there's a little gold box, I like to call it, and you can just pop it off, and that's it. Now we're going to lay our heat shield to the side, and this is how I have my screws laid out. I have all the covers, and then I have the screws laid out. If they're on the top, they're on the top. They're on the bottom, they're on the bottom. But I try to lay them out so that you know, and all the screws are different sizes. Not all of them, but most of them are different sizes, and you need to make sure the right screw goes in the right hole. It's going to save you a lot of time and effort if you can lay them out like this. You can even put them on a piece of paper if you want to, but all these are lined up exactly to the hole they need. Now I took this new screen, and it took me a minute to realize that the heat shield was already on here, and those 7 screws that I removed, they're already on here as well. So this is a pretty cool screen. It's already got some of the work done for me, but it took me a minute to realize something's different. I was like, oh, this is going to be a little bit easier. So now all you got to do is put it kind of back in reverse order. On top of that little yellow copper box looking thing, there's a little bitty hole, and it fits just perfect. And if you line that up, everything else will go in pretty good. Right here you can tell I took that proximity sensor and I put it in flush, and you kind of hear a little snap when it goes in. Now I'm putting the speaker microphone back, and there's 4 little holes at the top where these line up as well. Don't have a very good view here, but you'll be able to tell when you put it on there. There's 4 little holes, and they all need to, the little prongs need to line up on those holes just right. And if you've lined everything else up right, it should just almost fall into place. And now I'm going to take the screws in the exact order that I pulled them out, and I'm going to put them back. Remember, some of these screws are different sizes. I don't know how many times I'm going to say this, but just so you're aware, if you put the wrong screw in the wrong hole, it might be too short and not go all the way through, and it might not hold correctly, or it might be too long in a short hole and damage the front of the screen. So please be extremely careful with these screws. But we're going to put that down. And usually, once you put that front part, top part down, okay, here we go. You can kind of look at the top of it and see and make sure that it's flush. Now we're going to go ahead and put the home button on. This one, remember I was getting all that glass off. You want to make sure you get all that glass off, or that home button's not going to sit in there correctly. You want to take this one little flex cable. Once again, there's a guiding hole on here, and if you can line up that guiding hole with that flex cable, it should be snap in there pretty easy. Now we'll take the little cover that goes over the home button, and we're going to put that on as well. This one only has 2 screws, and majority of these are going to be your small Phillips screwdriver. Like I said, I'll leave a link in the description of where I got these screwdrivers, and recommend some that I really like. Test the button on the front, make sure it's got a good click. Now we can start connecting these back. I'm going to connect the front camera back, the LCD, and then the digitizer. I'm not going to put on the shields or the screws or anything yet. I'm just putting them in there. Make sure you get a good little snap. It's almost like a little Lego. You want to hear it snap in there. Make sure you go along the whole little prong there. Make sure everything's connected. We're going to come down here and we're going to plug the battery in. and we're going to power it on real quick and mess with it just to make sure that everything's working. Phone powered up. I do not know the passcode to this phone because it's not mine. So what I usually do is I'll go in here to emergency, and which is at the bottom left corner, and I'm just going to press the numbers 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. You can go in any other order you want. You just want to make sure that the screen's working properly. Sometimes I've had screens where you press 1 and it doesn't register, or 2 and you know that you've got a faulty screen. But other than that, the only real way to test it is to have them or yourself, if you know the passcode, do it. Open it up and mess with it a little bit. But everything I touched looked good. So now I'm going to start putting the shields back in, and I'm going to start putting the screws. Now this one's pretty important. The screws on this shield right here, I think all 5 screws are all different sizes. So you want to make sure when you're screwing these in, you're very, very careful on putting these screws in. That one right here that goes in that far right corner, it's a really long screw. So if you try to put it in the middle, which the screw is tiny, or the one on the bottom right, which is tiny as well, it's going to throw you completely off, and it's going to put pressure on your screen and could cause like a little spot on your screen that's very white, and you're not going to figure out, you're going to think that, you know, it's something else that's wrong. I've seen a lot of phones that I've opened where the shields aren't even put back on here. The shields serve a couple purposes. One, if there's damage or something where it gets too hot, it saves the screen. And 2, like if you drop it real hard, the cover also helps support like the cables to make sure that they stay there. So now we're going to go down here to the power cable. We're going to put this shield on. This will be your last shield. The power cable is always the first cable you want to disconnect, and the last cable you want to connect back. Just because when you're working on these phones, you don't want any power in there. And look around in the phone. Sometimes I've seen where phones that I'm fixing, they've been replaced before, and they might have a loose screw or a piece that's not connected right. So just kind of look over the phone, make sure there's nothing in there it shouldn't be. Now we're just going to snap the phone back into place. Just go around the sides gently. If there's a side that doesn't fit correctly, try to see if you can figure out why it's not lining up correctly and move your frame around a little bit. And then you're going to put the bottom 2 Pentalobe screws in, and that's about it, guys. But this is an iPhone 6s Plus. Hopefully I didn't go too fast. If you have any questions, concerns, just message me, let me know things that work for you, maybe something that you did a little bit different. But I'll leave a link in the description to everything I got. The screen, like I said, I was really surprised it came with the heat shield and the 7 screws. That made it a little less work for me. They don't always come like that. And the last thing you want to do is just do it again. Make sure all the numbers work. If the customer's there with you, or your friend, or whoever the phone, you can let them make a phone call on it, make sure everything works well. Maybe if they can't hear very well, or they can't hear good, they might have mislined the microphone up. Other than that, guys, I really appreciate you guys watching. If you'll leave me a like or a comment, even subscribe, something to let me know that these videos are worth putting out there. But I hope this helped you. Any questions you got, just let me know. Thanks for watching.